Hello everyone and welcome to another Watercolor Wednesday. I am Allison with the blog A Glimpse Inside, and today we are going to do this fun flower truck. I love this stamp, though it could be super intimidating. So I'm just going to show you today that it doesn't have to be scary. This is kind of a fastish painting, just depends on how much detail you want on the truck. The truck is what takes the longest. Once we get through that, then the rest is smooth sailing. We only need 3 stamps for this in 6 colors, and so it's going to be quick and easy. So let me show you what we need here. So to start, we will need the mini truck set, and of course the truck. And then we're going to do the mini flower set. We're going to do these little stamps, or excuse me, little flowers right here. And I just realized I'm missing one. We also need, from the original foliage set, the little tiny grasses. Forgot to pull that one out. Sorry about that. And then for the markers, we're going to use number 15 olive green, number 105 light teal, number 43 brilliant yellow, number 86 African violet, number 17 steel blue, and number 45 sepia. All right, so this is just a 4x4 square. You can easily do this bigger. I have done this truck on like 5x7s, and I've done the truck and then like had a little barn in the background. You could do this again bigger and have like more trees or like a field of flowers. So much you can do with this truck. So, but for today, we're only going to do this on a little 4x4 painting. Excuse me, piece of paper. Goodness, I can't speak right now. So we're going to start with our truck, and we're going to ink it up in 2 colors. So I'm going to start with sepia, and then I'm sure you guessed it, we will follow it up with, I'm sorry, we're starting with African violet. Did I say sepia? I don't know. Again, I can't speak today. And then we'll follow it up with sepia. Hopefully, I didn't confuse you guys. African violet first, sepia second. Okay, so this truck has some pretty thin lines. You know, tiny little details. So we are going to stamp it off first. So this is just a piece of post-it notes. And then I'm going to just carefully, let's see, I'm going to center my stamp on my paper and press it down. So now we have some pretty good thin lines. So now we will pull the color out of our truck here. One moment. So I'm just going to show you. So obviously under the truck we'll have darker areas, and in the wheel wells it will be darker. So we're for sure going to pull color here out, and then I tend to kind of pull a little bit of color down here, and then right through here on either side, and the same thing kind of here, and then we'll just do a tiny bit else here and there. Like, we don't need to pull out a whole bunch of color for this one. So again, we will start right down here, kind of like what's the underneath of the truck, and then I like to do that line, and then kind of like give that under that door like a little shadow, and then in the wheel well, because you know it's under and inside the truck, that's obviously going to be dark. Kind of like right here where the, what is this called? It's not a bumper. Well, I guess I said wheel well, so I guess where that meets the body of the truck, I kind of just shadow that in a little bit. And then same thing kind of over here. So since that kind of comes down, we don't see that very much. I tend to kind of darken that one side in, and then I just kind of come up and fade it out there. Everyone probably does these slightly different, and I'm sure every time I paint these, they're slightly different. For this stamp, I just recommend practice because, again, it can be super intimidating. And my first couple tries at the stamp were complete fails. But it's one of my favorites now. There's so much you can do with it. So let's see. So kind of under that little section, and then I also did it back here, and then in those little grooves. And then I'm just going to kind of go a little bit here around the window. Let's see. And then I'm going to come down here on the tires. This back one is kind of hidden since it is the back. So this one, I tend to do, quite a bit of darkness back there. Okay, so that's where we're going to start with the color being pulled out. And then I'm going to paint this truck in with the light teal. I just feel like this color is kind of like that perfectly like vintage blue that you'll see on trucks sometimes. So I just rinse my brush out. I'm just going to get a little bit on, and then I'm going to start here and work my way kind of over the wheel well here. And then as I work up, I'm going to lighten the color and then leave it. So I'm not going all the way. I'm leaving highlights. So same thing, I'm just going to kind of start back here, and then as I come up, I'm going to leave the highlight up there. So I'm going to paint super dark under here, but we're going to come back over that here in a few minutes. A little bit more water. And then, so again, kind of the doors, don't cross your lines, like don't brush over these two, like pick up your brush and then come to the next section, because you don't want to drag and take away those detail lines. This is, the bumper. I tend to leave the front bumper not painted. I always paint the back bumper. You don't have to. I don't always think about it, that it's a bumper until it's too late, truth be told. So I do, and then I just try to make it pretty dark, just to kind of distinguish it a little bit more. And then for the hood of the car, we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going and painting like that entire section. I'm just going to kind of fade that up there. And then for like the actual back, I'm going to bring the color a little bit like right there. I'm not painting the rest of that, because with our flowers, we don't want this color to like muddle the color of our flowers. And then I'm not painting all the way to that top line, because again, I have a highlight. So this is all dry now. So I'm immediately going to come back and start adding, a little bit more color for some added depth. I saw somebody paint this, and they added kind of like an orangey brown for rust in a couple places, and that was so cute. I haven't attempted that yet. But, those good old rusty trucks, maybe this has actually been sitting out in the field instead of, being used. So I think that would be super fun to do too. All right, so let's see. First, so for this bottom section, I'm just going to paint that in pretty dark. And I'm going to add a little bit more blue right there. So again, the more layers you go over, it's going to get darker. So I'm going to keep kind of going over some of these sections a little bit, just to get some added detail and darkness. Every time, you don't need to paint over the entire thing. you know, so since I'm just dabbing with my brush, you know, you can just dab and decide right exactly like, you know, where you want some color. So, and if you accidentally add a little too much, like I want to fade this out a little bit, I just have just water on my brush, and I'm just going to try to fade the top of this, the hood of the car off a little bit there. And then kind of the same thing, I add a little bit too much color right here. So I'm just going to kind of try to blend those in a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to add some African Violet to my palette, just a little bit. And I'm going to paint this. I dropped a big thing of water in my paper. Thankfully, it missed my truck. So I'm going to paint this underneath in those wheel wells, because I want this to be quite dark under there. Okay. Uh-oh. Now I have some on my hand. I'm making a mess today, guys. Let's see if I can get rid of that there. See, no one's perfect. Alright, well, we got it out for the most part. Let me wash my hand a little bit here so I don't continue to spread this all over the place. Okay. Alright, so, and now I'm going to also add some sepia to my palette. So I can mix my sepia and African Violet to kind of make that gray tone. I'm going to use this on the tires. Let's see. There it is. So I'm going to use this on the tires. So I'm going to start, you know, kind of up here and go a little lighter and then down, kind of like right where I did those, pull the colors out of the lines. That's where I'm going to start. Then as I go down, I'm just going to like fade the color out. And then I will just, I'm going to touch a little bit of this too, I think, to my underneath wheel well part. And then maybe just a little bit under the car here. We'll touch the bumper. I forgot to add just a little bit of color. I don't do too much on this little section because it's going to be quite reflective, but a little bit of color there. Okay, so I'm going to come back now and try to darken these tires just a tiny bit more. And I'm going to take just the sepia and just kind of paint in a little bit, kind of like dirt. Kind of do that. And I think that part of the truck is done. So what I'm going to do is take the African Violet and the thin side, and I'm going to darken in the door handle. And I'm going to come in and kind of darken those lines. And kind of the same thing. Just anything that you feel like could be darker for shadows. Maybe you accidentally added too much water. And I'm just going to come back over it. You could also use the thin side of the sepia. That will work too. I'm going to darken in the steering wheel just a little bit there. And the mirror. Okay, so for the headlight and then like the little backlights, I tend to just leave them white. They're just such tiny little things that I don't want to keep adding colors to those. Actually, one moment. I'm just going to kind of darken this just a little bit here. Okay. So next up, we are going to do our grass. So since we're going to have this as like sitting kind of in a field, so we're just going to add the grass, you know, right by the tires here. I'm going to stamp it multiple times. And then I'm just going to add a couple little sections. Sorry guys, I didn't see them. And then I'm just going to kind of stamp here and there. And then I'm going to add some green to my palette. And so we'll start by pulling the color up and out of the lines here for the grass. Dry that off too much. So up and out. And then I'm going to come back with my green and just kind of ground those grasses a little bit. Make them look a little more intentional, not just random floating grass. And then I'm going to come pretty close to underneath the truck there, and I'm going to kind of fade that out. And once that little section dries, I'm going to come back again and then kind of right here as well, because it's going to be darker, you know, right where the truck shadow would be. So maybe I'm going to take a little bit of my sepia and African violet mixture, and I'm going to paint that also in the grass to get that deeper tone. Okay. So the last thing that we have to do is add our little flowers here. And to do this, we're going to have to mask our truck off. So I've used these for a couple of different paintings. So this piece, I'm going to stick it right here. And I'm trying, so I lined this up and I made sure to stop at the edge of the truck there, because I don't want to accidentally keep going. And then this one will just come right here on top. This one does kind of go a little farther, but I can see where my line is. So we're going to ink these up in two colors. We're going to do the stems in the olive green, and then the flowers in the brilliant yellow. So I'm going to start here at like the back of the truck and press those in. We'll do 3 times and before I re-ink. And then I will reapply all my ink. And I'm going to come now from this side over and kind of come back and meet. And this time I'm going to I'm going to just clean the green off with my fingers. You'll get a little messy. And then I'm just going to come with a little bit of the yellow and just kind of add a little bit deeper. And if you want to make them, you know, standing up a little bit taller, I got a lot of flowers this time. And then you can remove your mask and we will add water to those. So I'm going to start with the little stems, and I'm just going to kind of drag downwards towards the truck. I'm going to add a little bit of green up there. And then rinse my brush and just you could also take this stamp and you could always stamp it, you know, a little bit here in the grass just to kind of show that they're, you know, in the field with grasses or with the flowers. And then last thing, I'm putting some steel blue on my palette. I'm going to flip my truck upside down here. And we're just going to do a little bit of the sky. I'm just going to do a tiny bit right here in the front of it. And then kind of come down a little bit down here in the back. I'm staying away from my lines here. And then just kind of feather it in. I'm not going to paint the whole sky in. We're just going to kind of put a touch here and there. I'll make some sections up a little taller. But there's no need. We're just going to, if you want something a little darker, go back over it. And there you have it. So I hope you weren't super scared to do this. I'm going to sign and date it right here. And that is it. Fun little flower truck kind of in the field driving away. I kind of wish I owned this truck. I secretly want an old vintage truck someday, but we'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, so this is super cute to put in a frame, make it into a card, do whatever you want with it. And I'm sure it will brighten anyone's day that you give it to, or even just yours. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't be scared of the truck. Promise you, you can eventually get it perfect. If you have any suggestions of something that you would like me to paint, please let me know in the comments or on my social media pages, and I will see what I can do. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day and week, and I will see you next time. Bye.